Alright, so I figured I'd try one more video for today. This one's going to be Black Magic Woman by Santana. This is on the bass. So I'll try and get through the whole song. We'll see. I might cut up the video and do it a couple different times. There's not too many parts, but there's some subtle differences. And, you know, you're going to have to count the bars. I'm not going to go through every single measure here. So first, we'll just talk about like the little different motifs in the intro. And kind of the rhythm too, because that's the tricky part about this. Not really the notes, it's the rhythms are a little different from other normal pop songs, you know. So first things first, we're going to start out. The song's in D minor. So the first note is going from A to D. And you can do both of those on the 5th fret. Or you could do open A to the 5th fret D. I don't think you're going to want to play the open D, but, you know, that's up to you. Like that, you can do that. So that rhythm is like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, like that. So you're hitting and a 4, and then you're hitting the D on 1. And then the other rhythm that we do at the beginning, there's 2 rhythms for the first like 6 or 8 bars or something like that. And the other one is going to be playing on beat 4 and playing a high A, and then playing D on 1. So I'll play both of those back to back so you can kind of hear how they sound. I'll count with them. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2, like that. Now that 7th fret note, the high one, they might slide into that. It kind of sounds like that. So keep that in mind. Like that. So it does that for a little while, and you're going to keep with those same rhythms, and then eventually, like again, I'm not going to count them just now. If I tab this out or whatever, or write it in notation, I'll have this right, but I don't know the number of bars off the top of my head right now. But it's going to go, so after one of the times when you do this rhythm, the 4-1 rhythm, where you do the high A to the D, you're going to do the and 1 rhythm, but you're going to use different notes. You're going to go D to G. And that's going to bring in a new pattern right here. So that's going to sound like this. And then you see how I slid back up to that D. And then you're now in this position. You can do that same rhythmic motif I just did, but you're going to use A and D now in low A. So it'd be, I'll play those 2 phrases back to back so you can kind of see what's going on there. So it'd be... 4 and 1, and that's how it ends right there. So you end up kind of hanging on that high note, and then you hit a and 1, and then that's a stop, and that's when the guitar comes in with the first note to the solo. So, I mean, the guitar's already in, but when it starts that first guitar solo. So let's just talk about what the different notes are there. I didn't really mention those. So we're going to go D to G, and then we're really just playing roots and fifths on a D, you know, just like a lot of times, or on a G chord, I mean, but root and fifth, like a lot of bass lines, really. So we're going to go 5th to root and then 5th to high root, like that. So it's going to go... and the rhythm on that is kind of tricky when, again, we're playing on and of 4 and then 1, and then and of 2, and then 3 and right there. And then the and then back to the 1 there. So I'll try and count along with that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1, like that. Maybe that should have been on and of 4. Let me play that again. Yeah, that I said that high note on 4. Sometimes when you're playing things slow, the rhythm doesn't come out quite right. That should have been on the and of 4, that slide right there. So I'll do that one more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. 2, 3, 4 and 1. So again, yeah, you kind of hang on that high note, and then you're going to hit A to D. So that's your whole intro right there. And again, I didn't quite go through the number of measures that you do those first two phrases for, but just listen. You know, you want to get your ear trained so you don't always have to have someone tell you the number of measures. You want to be able to hear where the changes happen, even if you can't figure out the notes. You want to know where the changes happen, and then figuring out the notes is the next step. So, you know, if I leave something out on here, hopefully you can still figure that out. So the next part of the song is the first guitar solo. And this part is really similar to all the verses that come after, but it's slightly different. It has one extra bar. So all the verses are 13 bars. All the verses are 12 bars, and this intro solo is 13. So most of the phrases are going to be the same. I'll probably just mention when I get to one what's different, you know, what's going to be different going forward. So I'll just play the whole 13 bar loop right now, and you'll see what's going on there. So it's going to be off of D minor, A minor, and G minor. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. So, yeah, that's the extra bar that we do those 2 bars on D at the end. Whereas in the verses, we're only going to do 1 bar of D at the end. And so we'll talk about that when we get to it. So let's just go through each of those phrases kind of individually because they're kind of the same thing over and over again. And there's an easier way to play these two that I'll show you. It's not exactly what's going on in the song, but to be honest, I used to play this song with groups and I always played it this other way. It was only recently I learned like that it should be in a higher octave than. So first I'll show you the right way, and then I'll show you the easy way. So the right way, you know, you're going to start on your D right here, and then you're going to play your 5th, which is A, on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, or I'm sorry, 2nd string. And then you're going to go to your 5th fret on your 1st string, play that note twice, play the 7th fret once, and then play the 5th fret again. And now what's the challenge of that is snapping back on the repeat, getting back to your low D. So here I'll play that twice in a row. So you can see that, well, I actually only did it once, but you can see getting back to the beginning. That's what I wanted to show you. You have to jump from your 1st finger here to your 1st finger there. So if you're just starting out, that's going to be tricky. Just play it slow. You know, treat the rhythm right. Play it slow. You'll get it for sure. You just want to get those mechanics down. So that's what you're playing over a D minor almost every time in this intro solo. Like that. So if you're just looking at a chord chart and you see a D minor, play that. It's going to be right 90% of the time. And even the one spot where it's not, it wouldn't matter. If you played that, you know, no one would know the difference. And then, so it does 2 bars of that, and then we change to A. And we're going to do the same lick off of an A. So if you just relatively move everything 1 string lower, it's going to come out right. So like that. So I'm playing A, 5th fret E string, E is the 7th fret on the A string, and then G is the high note there. I'm sorry, G is the note right below the high note, and then A is the high note too. Like that. So we got. So far we're going to do it on D twice, then A twice, and then we go back to the D. And now we're going to drop down to a G, 3rd fret low E string, and we're going to do the same thing twice from a G. So we're going to play 3rd fret E string, that's our G. Here's our 5th, that's the 5th fret on the A string, and that note's D. And then the high notes are F and G. Yeah, that's right. For some reason that didn't sound right to me. And we're going to do that twice. And then we go back to the D for 1, A for 1. And now here's where it gets a little different than the rest of the song. We're going to now do 2 measures of D right here. The rest of the song, we're only ever going to do 1 after we do that D-A switch. And the first one is going to be the same. And now the second one is going to be ever so slightly different. We're going to go D, then to A again, same as normal. And now we're going to still play these two notes, but instead of going like this, we're going to go like that. So we're going to play A and G instead of D and C. So here's that measure. And then we're going to end on D, and that's going to be a stop, and it's going to kick into that first solo. So it's going to be this. 2, 3, 4, and then you just come right back in with that, and now you're starting a verse loop. And the verse loop, actually, I'm sorry, there's a little keyboard solo right there. And the keyboard solo is actually even easier. You're just going to play the D line 7 times and then do a stop on the beginning of the 8th one. So, you're just going to do this. You're going to do it 7 times, but imagine that was the 8th time right there instead of the 4th, and you would just hit the stop there again. And then, then you're starting the verse right after that. And here is the first verse, and really all subsequent verses are going to be the same. So really minor differences from what we've done before. We're going to start with that D riff, and we're going to do it twice, just like we did it before. Then we're going to drop to the A, do it twice there. So now here's where it starts to change. We do the D the same, and now the second time, we do it like that. So that's going to be, instead of going high again, we're going to play some lower notes in the middle there. So we're going to play the D, A, and then we still play that C twice, but now we end our phrase like that. So that was playing an A and a G. And then we're going to hit the G again. So we're actually going to start our G minor chord this time around with a high note. And then we're going to switch our hand position, play the rest of it exactly the same way. And then on the second time, we're going to play the G low. So check it out. I'll play the whole verse here. It's going to go like this. Like that. So you can see that was really similar to the other part. The really only difference was we only played one measure of D at the very end before we did the stop, and also the way we start that G. So instead of just going straight to the low G, we're going to start the first one with a high G, and then that's really playing the riff exactly the same way, except we just started with the high note, but then everything else is the same. And then we do it again, but with the low note, just like we did in the intro this time. Like that. So that's all your verses do that. Just like how I just played it there, that's going to be every verse. So that's actually how everything goes in the song for a little while. And then we're going to break back into the intro riff a little bit, which was that thing. And we don't even get into the other part of it. When we did that kind of more busy rhythmic motif, that doesn't come back. So after that, we're going to get into something a little different. So after you get through that intro motif again, this is how we're going to break out of it. It's going to be this descending riff. It's a minor scale riff. It's not every note in the minor scale, but it's going to go like that. And then it does this bounce back between D and A, and we'll talk about that for a second. So we're going to start on a high D, and we're going to go D, C, A, G, and then F, E, D on the A string. And then you're going to drop down to a C right below the root, and then back to the D. And then, we'll play a couple more notes after that, but check out that run again. And now I'll just go a little further with it. I'll play the rhythm that happens after it. So I was just going back and forth between D and A there, and pretty sure it's 6, and then you play that D a 7th time, but just count how many times I played it. That's the right rhythm there. And then you break into the outro rhythm, and the outro line is really cool, and it has a couple little different breaks in it. I'm not going to cover every measure of the outro right here, but I'll get you going with it. And you know, if those last couple notes are really stumping you, just hit me up or something. There are a lot of tabs for this song. I haven't checked YouTube if there's other people showing the bass line, but it's definitely available information. So the next line though is super. So yeah, that's the only other little thing there. And without the song in front of me, I don't actually know how many times it does this and that. But you know, like I said, we can get all that figured out later. But here's the outro line. So it starts on a D, and you can play this much harder if you play it on different strings, but it's super easy if you use the open string. So we're gonna go. So that was going D, open A, C, D. And then the second half of it is going back to open A and then playing an E and then a D. And then it's really just looping those. And that's a killer rhythm to play. It's a kind of generic Latin rhythm, I guess. But it's a cool one to just throw in jam sessions, or if you're extending a different song and you have any part where the rhythm kind of breaks down, if you can launch into that with the bass line, it can really take a jam somewhere, because it's just a cool rhythm that you don't hear every day. And then it does, you know, that descending thing that I threw in there a little bit, like that. So that's the only thing they really break from it with, and then they go back to the... And then they end it by just playing C, B, A. They don't do that D. So I didn't actually go through that note by note. That part is, the part they do in the middle of the outro is going to be C, B, A, D, like that. And that's hitting on 4 and the A, D. So, and then you have the whole measure empty. So it can be a little tricky hitting that first note of the next one on 1 if you're thinking of it as and 1, which is kind of more natural. But yeah, if you count the rhythm there, it'd be 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, like that. So just keep that in mind if you're having a hard time when they hit that part. And again, you're gonna have to count the measures or start to feel out where the changes are, because you know, maybe I'll transcribe it and have every measure written on there, but it's better to use your ears for form, and try to memorize form as best you can rather than counting bars. Like, just kind of knowing, trying to be able to feel where the changes are, or use cues in the rest of the band and stuff like that, especially on a recording, because the cues are always going to be the same. So I'm not sure I said those notes on the repeating riff, so we'll just talk about that again real quick. So it's D, A, C, D, A, E, D, and then we're looped. So anyway, have a lot of fun with that. This video turned out a lot longer than I was planning on, but it's a long song. It's got a lot going on. So good luck with all the rhythms, and have fun playing the song. It's a lot of fun. Oh, you know what? I said I was going to play the easy version of the song. So here we go on all the intro riffs. Now I'm not going to play everything here, but on the verse riff, so instead of going, you can play everything lower, in which case you can play it all on one string. So here it is. And then you just start again like that. So you're going 5th fret, open, 3rd fret, 5th fret, like that. And you play that 3rd fret twice, just like we were doing on the other riff. And then, so that's your D. Then your A is just the same thing down a string, like that. And then your G in that case would be the same thing, but on the the 2nd string. So like that. So you can play all your riffs a little bit easier, and it's really easy to repeat the individual ones, because that's what's hard about this, is playing those 2 notes in a row with your first finger on the 5th fret. Whereas here, it's really easy to do that, and it sounds cool too. Like I said, I was playing this for years with the low voicing before I really realized it was in the high voice. So it could also be a way to mix up the song. You know, it's nice to play in the high voice because the bass line really pops then, but it's cool to provide lower support too. To be honest, most of the time when I'm playing bass, I want to play low notes. They just sound better, and someone's got to play them, so it's good when the bass player plays them. All right, well, yeah, now I'm really done. So good luck with this song, and hit me up if you have any questions on it.